Incredible discovery, heartwarming moment as police dog exposes life-changing rescue of little G, in the heart of the quiet suburban town, a thrilling adventure unfurled at the community park. Little G, just 10 years old, was running free with his loyal dog, Rusty. The sun beamed down, laughter echoed around, and for a moment, all worries faded away. But that bliss shattered when Rusty darted off, chasing after a fluttering butterfly, leaving little G's heart pounding with fear. As Rusty raced out of sight, a wave of dread washed over him. What if he didn't come back? What if something happened to him? Little G's mother, a devoted waitress, put in long hours, sacrificing everything to make ends meet. She was his rock, the backbone of their small family. But in their cramped apartment, the walls felt heavy with financial struggles and dreams deferred. The unrelenting worry of lost opportunities shadowed both their hearts. If only he could help her escape this life. As the crowd buzzed with excitement during the community event, Officer Harris appeared with Max, his trusty police dog. The atmosphere shifted. Little G's fear morphed into a frantic search. Every second felt like an eternity, each direction he turned filled with echoing shouts of Rusty's name. Would he be forgotten, just like his mother sometimes feared? The bond they shared pulsed within him, igniting a spark of hope amid the chaos. Then it happened, a moment of clarity. Officer Harris's voice cut through the noise, instructing the crowd to search nearby woods. Suddenly, the energy shifted again as Max stumbled upon something unexpected. An elderly man, clearly lost, emerged from the shadows, leaving everyone breathless. This twist awakened a sense of urgency and purpose in little G's heart. A renewed admiration surged within him for those who serve and protect, transforming fear into determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Inspired by the rescue, fueled by the unwavering support of his neighbors, little G gathered courage he didn't know he had. He marched into the next town council meeting, his small frame cloaked in determination. The stakes were high, voices clashed over cuts to community resources. But through the tension, he found his moment. "I have a voice, too," he exclaimed, shaking from nerves yet unwavering. "Families like mine work hard but are often overlooked. We need our community, our unity." The air crackled with intensity. The room felt alive. Little G became a beacon of hope, igniting discussions of justice and togetherness, but doubt lingered, echoing in the back of minds across the room. Would they listen to him? Could the marginalized truly be heard? As all eyes turned towards little G, anticipation hung thick in the air. Would this spark a fire for change or just another fleeting moment lost to complacency? The uncertainty settled in, leaving every heartbeat drumming an unanswered question. As he stood grounded in the middle of it all, could he truly reshape his community, or would the weight of silence drown his hope? As the meeting progressed, murmurs swept through the crowd, a mix of skepticism and support. Little G could feel the weight of their gazes, 1,000 eyes measuring his worth. His heart raced, each beat a plea for understanding. Suddenly, a voice broke through the tension. It was Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman who had lived in the community for decades. "He's right. We can't keep ignoring the needs of our families. Look at our playgrounds, look at our schools." Her voice rang with conviction, and little G felt the thrill of shared purpose ignite in the room. Slowly, others began to voice their agreement. "We need more resources," shouted a father of 3. "Think of the children." Another mother chimed in. Little G couldn't believe what he was witnessing. The energy shifted, hope blossoming like the flowers in spring. Tears threatened to spill from little G's eyes. This was more than just a meeting, it was a transformation. People who felt alone were standing together, ready to fight for change. It felt like Rusty had returned, wrapping him in warmth, right there in the council room, but as laughter and clapping filled the air, another wave of insecurity washed over him. Was this momentum sustainable? Would it last beyond their passionate declarations? The faces in the crowd shifted from enthusiasm to contemplative silence as the head of the council stood up, a stone-faced woman who had been part of the committee for years. "We appreciate your passion, young man," she said, her voice cool and calculated. "But we have limited budgets. How do you propose we fund these proposals?" Little G swallowed hard, suddenly feeling small again. His mind raced, searching for words that could capture the moment. "We can host fundraisers. Yard sales, bake-offs, anything." He blurted out, his voice trembling yet hopeful. A ripple of interest moved through the audience, people nodding, brainstorming quietly amongst themselves. Could they really rally together? "To have more family events," he continued, "we can bring in local businesses to sponsor them like Rusty and I did at the park. It's not just about money, it's about community spirit." He glanced out into the sea of faces, searching for support. The head of the council frowned, her brow furrowed. "That sounds good, but we'll need proposals in writing, we'll need plans." Her dismissive tone halted the room. Little G's heart sank. Could they really turn this passion into a reality? He glanced back to Mrs. Jenkins, whose face lit with understanding. She stepped forward. "I can help organize," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. "We can form committees." "Yes," someone else shouted, and others quickly followed suit. Little G felt the pulse of energy return, but the underlying fear crept in again. Plans and action were needed, but could he be the one to lead? As discussions sparked around him, the future felt uncertain. He had ignited a fire, yet would he have the strength to fan the flames? As he took a deep breath, surrounded by bubbling ideas and adrenaline-fueled chatter, he resolved to step up. What he didn't anticipate was the unexpected visit that awaited him after the meeting, a knock that would equalize the focus of his dreams and the path his community desperately needed. Would this be the twist that turned his aspirations into reality? The meeting had wrapped up with a buzz of excitement, and Little G's heart danced in rhythm with the chatter around him. As he stepped into the hallway, ready to face whatever awaited him after this monumental evening, a sense of resolve began to settle in. It was then that he heard the soft yet firm knock at the door. He opened it to find Officer Daniels, the local police officer who often roamed the neighborhood with his loyal partner, Max, a golden retriever with a gentle demeanor but an impressive knack for sniffer work. Little G felt a spark of curiosity blossom within him, mixed with a tinge of apprehension. "Officer Daniels? Is everything okay? Can we talk, Little G?" The officer's voice was serious, a contrast to the lively banter that still echoed in the council room. Little G nodded and stepped aside, allowing the officer and Max to enter. The dog's bright eyes seemed to shine with an understanding that the boy could hardly fathom. Sitting in a chair, he felt the weight of the world on his young shoulders. "Listen," Officer Daniels said, taking a seat opposite him. "We've been doing some work in the neighborhood, and Max, well, he's uncovered something that involves you." "Me?" Little G was baffled, and his heart quickened with a mix of fear and excitement. "Yeah," Daniels continued, his eyes sincere. "You know how we've been trying to get more outreach going for the kids, right? To keep them safe and engaged." Little G remembered the worries of other parents, the fear of kids being easily influenced. He nodded, still unsure where this was leading. "Max has a nose for trouble, a real talent," the officer said with a small smile. "We've noticed a troubling trend at the park. Some kids have been getting involved in, well, things they shouldn't be. We need someone to help us reach these kids, someone who they connect with, someone like you." Little G's breath caught in his throat. It was a turn he hadn't expected. "You want me to help with the police?" he asked, grappling with both excitement and a wave of doubt. Exactly, the officer responded, leaning forward. You're a voice for the community now. You can reach them better than we ever could in uniform. With your passion and this new committee of yours, we could create something powerful together. Max shifted closer, resting his head on little G's knee. It felt like the dog was reassuring him, saying that he was not alone in this. The warmth radiating from the dog made little G's uncertainties feel a little lighter. Could this be the way to truly affect change? But I don't know how to run anything, he exclaimed, and the enthusiasm that had just sparked in him dimmed slightly. You don't have to do it alone, Officer Daniels encouraged, his tone calming. We can meet regularly, plan outreach events, educational workshops, and even sports leagues. Together, we can take this energy from tonight and inspire the next generation. For the first time, little G felt a flicker of something bigger than himself. This was an opportunity to steer others away from the troubles that threatened to entrap them. He could be part of the solution. Emboldened, he sat up straight. Okay, let us do this. Let us change things. The officer grinned at him. That's the spirit. We'll need a lot of support, and I think you could even inspire some local businesses to join in, just like before. As they began to brainstorm ideas, little G realized that this was the kind of momentum he had been yearning for. He could see the paths opening before him, but the excitement also brought a wave of fear. What if he failed? What if the community he had just rallied couldn't come together again? Max nudged him gently with his nose, as if to say, "You've got this." Little G took a deep breath, feeling his resolve strengthen. Tonight had set in motion more than he had ever dreamed, and it all hinged on what he would do next. As thoughts raced through his mind, a powerful sense of purpose bubbled within him, with ideas brewing. He just couldn't help but wonder what awaited him next as he stepped fully into this role. What new challenges and victories lay ahead for little G and his community? Little G felt a thrill racing through him as the possibilities unfolded. A spark ignited his imagination. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everyone he saw in the park, about making a real difference for others. What about starting a weekly sports day? He suggested eagerly, his voice gaining strength. Great idea. Officer Daniels nodded, his eyes lighting up. Kids love to play. It's a perfect way to draw them in and build connections. Max wagged his tail in agreement, as if he understood every word. The officer continued laying out a plan. We can start with soccer and basketball. Then, as the interest grows, maybe even some workshops on safety or anti-bullying. The more we can get kids involved, the better. Little G imagined the sounds of laughter, the thud of a basketball hitting the ground, and the shouts of joy when a goal was scored. Each picture sparked in his mind filled him with courage. That's awesome. We could enlist some older kids as mentors, too. They could help out and inspire the younger ones. I like where this is headed, Daniels replied, clearly impressed. Mentorship could have a huge impact. You're not just gathering kids, you're building a community. Excitement filled the air, and little G's heart raced with the realization that he was at the center of something meaningful. But hot on the heels of that joy was a shadow of doubt. What if he couldn't keep it all together? And what if nobody shows up? He asked, worry creeping into his voice. What if it just flops? Hey, the officer said gently, leaning forward to catch his gaze. Even if just a few kids show up, it's still a start. Change happens slowly, and every small step counts. Plus, we'll be right there to support you. Little G held Officer Daniels' gaze, drawing strength from his confidence. Okay, we can do this, he said resolutely, feeling that golden thread of hope weaving itself through his heart. He glanced at Max, who seemed to radiate that unwavering support. If a dog could win over hearts, surely, he could rally some kids. Little G smiled for the first time since the meeting wrapped up. As they sketched out plans for the sports day, transforming ideas into actionable steps, an idea struck. What if we had a little community fair, too? We could invite local businesses. Food trucks, games. It would be a perfect way to gather families around. That could work beautifully. We'd have to pitch it to the local businesses and get their support, the officer said, his enthusiasm matching little G's. Hours slipped by as they painted a vision of community together. They discussed snacks, equipment, and even music, everything that could create a welcoming atmosphere. Little G felt the burn of determination in his veins. This was what he wanted to do. Just then, the door creaked open, interrupting their excitement. It was his mom, her brows furrowing with concern. "G, are you okay? I've been looking for you." "Mom, I'm fine. You won't believe what's happening." Little G waved her in, the weight of his earlier uncertainty lifting as he retold the unfolding story, filled with belief and passion. Her eyes widened as she listened, and a smile broke across her face. "That sounds amazing. I'm so proud of you." But just as little G felt the weight of his mom's pride wash over him, Officer Daniel's expression shifted slightly. "Hey, little G, I just remembered something. There's been a rise in reports of kids hanging around some of the park's corners, acting a bit shady. It could pose a challenge for your plans. We need to keep an eye on this." The joyful moment began to slip away, replaced by a tingle of tension. Little G's heart raced again. This was the challenge he didn't foresee. How could he protect his community if trouble was lurking? As questions buzzed in his head, he realized the stakes were higher than he had anticipated. Would they be ready to tackle this as a team? Was he prepared for what came next? The whisper of uncertainty made him take a deep breath. What would it take to keep his vision alive in the face of obstacles? The road ahead was now unclear, but filled with potential. How would they confront these shadows that threatened to overshadow their dreams? Little G felt the tension of the unanswered question in the air. Little G felt a chill run down his spine as he considered Officer Daniel's words. The laughter and chatter that filled his mind just moments ago faded into silence. "Shady kids?" he murmured, pressing his palms together. Officer Daniels nodded, concern etched on his face. "Yeah, we've noticed a few groups gathering when the sun sets. We're keeping an eye on it, but it could interfere with the sports day if it escalates." Max stood tall, sensing the change in mood. Little G absent-mindedly reached down to scratch his ears. "What do we do?" His voice wavered slightly, conflicting emotions swirling within him. Daniel straightened his posture, his tone urging yet calm. "We need to make sure the park feels safe. If kids see positive activities happening, it might steer them away. But we can't ignore the issue. We should talk to the parents and encourage them to get involved." "Involved how?" Little G asked, a sense of determination building. "Let us organize a community meeting. Share our plans for the sports day and the fair. If the parents are invested, they'll spread the word. And perhaps, we could collaborate with local law enforcement to foster trust." Little G's heart quickened. The idea of rallying everyone together felt empowering, but the heaviness in his chest reminded him of the threats lurking in the shadows. What if they don't want to come? Officer Daniels exchanged a glance with little G's mom, who had been quietly listening. "Reaching out to them is key. Show them what we're trying to create. Before long, they'll feel the spirit of the community and want to be a part of it," she said, her voice steady. "That makes sense," little G replied, brightening with every word. "We just need to show them that this is about all of us, not just a few." They spent the next few hours drafting flyers and brainstorming ways to attract families. Max lightly nudged little G's leg as if to say, "I'm with you." Little G beamed at his furry friend. The challenges ahead didn't seem as daunting anymore. Then the idea struck him, a spark of inspiration igniting. What if we had an open mic? Kids could share stories, talents, whatever. That could really get them excited about coming. They could take ownership of the event too. Officer Daniels and his mom exchanged proud smiles. "Now you're thinking like a leader," the officer said. Suddenly, the door swung open again, bringing in the warm afternoon light with it. A few of Little G's friends from the park rushed in, curiosity written over their faces. "What's happening?" one of them asked. Little G jumped up, excitement bubbling within him. "We're planning a sports day. And we want you all to help." In a matter of minutes, the room buzzed with chatter and laughter. Little G felt his worries melt away as the kids shared ideas and visions of what the day could be. They brainstormed games and even sketched out their own flyers to hang at the park. Yet, even amid the newfound joy, a cloud of uncertainty still loomed in his mind about the kids that threatened their plans. Did they know what was going on? Could they reach out to them? As the chatter continued, Little G felt a flicker of doubt. Would they be able to create the safe, fun environment they dreamed of, or would fear hold them back? Would they be ready to face the unsettling challenges ahead? The air crackled with a mix of excitement and apprehension as the group's laughter echoed around him, but the question lingered like a shadow at the edge of their hopes. What would happen when the joy they built clashed with the reality of the lurking dangers? The community spirit hung in the balance, waiting for their decision. As the excitement in the room bounced around like a basketball, Little G watched his friends light up with ideas. The kids shared plans for games and snacks, their voices overlapping in a joyful cacophony. But somewhere deep inside him, unease twisted in his stomach. He thought about the shady kids that Officer Daniels had mentioned. What if they didn't want to join in? What if they preferred to stay in the shadows? Max, sensing Little G's distraction, leaned against him, his warm fur calming. "Let us focus on the positive," Little G whispered to his loyal companion. The excitement was infectious. They could make a difference, right? "Open mic night," one girl shouted, making everyone cheer. "Yeah. We can tell stories," another chimed in. The room filled with laughter and cheers as they brainstormed acts and performances. But Little G veered off in thought about what kind of stories they might hear. Would it be about friendship, bravery, or something darker? Gradually, the fun spiraled into deeper conversations. "We should make a theme that everyone will love," Little G suggested, hoping to bridge their excitement with the lingering doubt. "What about sharing our dreams? We could all tell what we want to be when we grow up." Some kids nodded while others laughed, seeming unsure. "But what if someone wants to be a gang leader?" one boy suddenly questioned, his voice cutting through the laughter like thunder. Little G felt a knot tighten in his chest. "That's why we need to invite them. Show them there's more." His voice wavered. "More to being a kid than that." A quiet moment fell over the room. Everybody absorbed the weight of his words. It was a long shot, but what if they could change minds before fear took over? As they continued to share ideas, it was clear that hope filled the room. Little G glanced around, noticing his friends growing more animated in their contributions, a spark igniting a sense of belonging among them. Just then, the door creaked open again. This time, it was the local newspaper reporter, Miss Thompson, with her notepad and camera. "I heard there's something exciting happening here." She beamed, eyes glimmering with interest. "Mind if I take a few snaps?" Little G felt a flutter of pride. Sharing their plans would not only draw parents in but also the community, capturing the genuine spirit they were cultivating. "Absolutely," he replied, standing a bit taller. As the children posed and laughed under the camera, Little G's heart swelled. Perhaps this was the moment that things would begin to change. But then it hit him, as fast as a flick of a switch, the very kids they were worried about would likely hear of this too. An open mic could draw them in, for better or worse. Could they really turn them around? The moment hung heavy. Little G scanned his friends, bubbling with enthusiasm, but his mind painted darker pictures. Would the event heal a rift in the community, or would it expose deeper divides? As Ms. Thompson snapped more photos, her smile fading just a bit, little G couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into uncharted waters, treading a fine line between joy and danger. What would happen if those shady kids decided to make an appearance? Would they be met with open arms or hostile glances? With a breath of determination, he steeled himself. They had a plan now. It was time to face the future head-on. Tomorrow's meeting would be crucial. He felt it in his bones. Could they rally the parents, and would they be brave enough to confront the darkness together? As the laughter faded into a more serious discussion about logistics, little G knew one thing for sure: their community needed this chance to shine brighter than the shadows lurking nearby. Would they rise together, or was the fear too powerful? The air thickened with anticipation as their plans took shape. An adventure awaited, but could they handle the challenges that came next? The next day dawned warm and bright, but little G felt a chill creep into his bones. The meeting felt like a storm on the horizon, a mix of hope and anxiety swirling within him. With Max by his side, he made his way to the community center. As they approached, he noticed a group of parents chatting nervously by the entrance. He felt that familiar knot in his stomach twist again. Would they be on board with their idea, or would they be filled with doubts? Inside, kids buzzed with excitement, their energy infectious. Little G tried to channel that energy as he greeted his friends, spotting Mia and Julian deep in discussion. "Did you guys tell your parents?" he asked, trying to gauge the mood. Julian shrugged, his eyes darting. "Mine said it's risky. They're worried about those shady kids. They think it's better to avoid trouble." Mia's face dropped. What if nobody comes? Or worse, what if the shady kids crash the party? Their worries echoed little G's own. When he thought about the event, he imagined everything from laughter to cheers, but he also envisioned dark corners filled with tension. Would they really be able to change minds, or would anger erupt? As parents streamed into the room, little G noticed their expressions. Some were confident, while others were apprehensive. He took a deep breath, his heart racing. They needed to hear the kids' excitement, to feel the hope bursting through the air. Little G stepped to the front, heart hammering against his ribcage. "Thanks for coming," he called out, his voice a bit shaky but determined. "We're really excited about open mic night. This is our chance to show everyone in the community that there's more than just fear around here." He glanced over at Max, who wagged his tail, as if encouraging him. Little G pressed on. "We want everyone to share their dreams and stories. Even if someone feels different, we all just want to belong. We hope to make something good together, right?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience, but it wasn't unanimous. A woman raised her hand, her brow furrowed with skepticism. "What if those kids you're worried about ruin everything? They've caused trouble before." Little G's stomach dropped. He looked around the room, a few heads nodded in agreement. Doubt swirled like a dust storm. Yet, he had to stand firm. "That's why we need to invite them. Show them what we're creating. Maybe they'll want to be part of this good thing too." Silence fell again, thick and heavy. Little G's heart raced. He felt exposed, like he was on the edge of a cliff. Would they accept his challenge, or dismiss him as just another dreamer? Then, in a surprising turn, a boy from the back of the room raised his hand. "What if we reach out to them? We could show them how fun it could be." His voice quaked with eagerness. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd. Little G's spirits lifted like a kite in the wind. Maybe they weren't as divided as he feared. Maybe they could stand together against the shadows lurking just beyond the light. As ideas were exchanged, he saw parents starting to nod, clicking into place as they found common ground. They discussed creating a welcoming atmosphere, even brainstorming ways to approach the shady kids with kindness instead of suspicion. Little G felt a rush of hope. They had united in a shared vision, and suddenly, the impossible seemed tangible. They were ready to break down walls, rooted in a belief that everyone belonged. As the meeting wrapped up, a voice interrupted the hopeful buzz. "What if they don't want to be invited?" a concerned parent asked, her expression pinched. Little G felt a chill run down his spine. What if it all went wrong? He looked around at his friends, their faces lit with determination. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment they would find out if they could really create change. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. It was now or never. Would they stand in fear, or step into the unknown? Little G clenched his fists, feeling the fervor building. This was the beginning. What challenges awaited them on the day of the event? Would the shadows come to listen or clash? The moment of truth was closing in fast. The days that followed the meeting were a whirlwind. Little G found himself caught in an unpredictable tide of excitement and trepidation. Each evening he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the hopeful exchanges of the gathering. But with every tick of the clock, the what-ifs crept back in with chilling clarity. Are you sure we can really do this? Mia asked during their next meeting. She fidgeted with the hem of her shirt, her usual spark dimmed by doubt. Little G plastered on a confident smile, but inside, uncertainty simmered. We have to try, right? We can't let fear win. Max, sensing the dimmed spirits, nudged Mia with his nose, bringing a flicker of laughter to her face. The warmth between them reminded Little G that they weren't alone in this. That afternoon, they bumped into a few of the so-called shady kids at the skate park. Heart racing, Little G watched as they whizzed past on their boards, carefree and unbothered. Could this be the moment he'd been hoping for? He turned to Mia and Julian, who were cautiously looking on. Let us just talk to them. What's the worst that could happen? Little G declared, trying to inject some bravado into the moment. With hesitant exchanges of glances and muttered agreements, they approached the group, hands shoved deep into their pockets. Hey! Little G called out, trying to sound casual. We're planning an open mic night this Friday. You guys should come. There was a beat of silence, the air thickening with tension. One of the older boys, a scruffy-looking teen with a skateboard under one arm, raised an eyebrow. What's the catch? He asked, his tone teasing yet wary. Seriously. There's no catch. We just want everyone to have fun. Music, stories, food, everyone together, Little G continued, desperation creeping into his voice. A few kids exchanged glances, skepticism shadowing their faces. Sounds lame, the oldest one muttered, and Little G felt his heart sink, but just as he was about to back away, another voice piped up from the back, softer but curious. I dunno, could be kinda cool. Little G's heart lifted at the flicker of interest. He saw the hesitation in the older boy's posture, a flicker of hope against walls built from previous judgments. Yeah. It's all about getting together and sharing. You can do your own stuff, whatever you want. Slowly, one by one, the skaters began exchanging murmurs. There were nods and skeptical laughs, but that faint spark was there, an opening, however small. As they walked away from the park, adrenaline coursed through Little G. Did you see? They might actually come. He breathed, an infectious excitement bursting forth. Maybe, Julian said, but there was a smile creeping onto his face. Little G couldn't shake the feeling that this was a shift, a sign that things could change. He thought of the community center, filled with faces that could become friends instead of adversaries. But as he turned the corner, coming back into his neighborhood, his stomach twisted again. What if the invite fell flat? What if those shady kids rejected them completely? Each step felt heavier with uncertainty. They had made progress, yes, but how willing were others to join in? Suddenly, he stopped, eyes wide with realization. What if their response to us is linked to how we treat them? If we want them there, we need to really believe it too. As they reached the front porch, a dark cloud loomed overhead. A chill ran down Little G's spine. Tomorrow would be the test. Would the plan truly come to life, or would they stand alone beneath the fading light, their dreams only whispers in the wind? The stirring doubt filled him once more. Little G clenched his fists, knowing he would fight for this. Not just for the event, but for change itself. He looked at his friends, determination etched across their faces. Let us get ready. Tomorrow, we face whatever comes. Together. But what if tomorrow brought not just the shadows they feared, but revelations they never expected? The sun rose with a hesitant glow as Little G stared at the clock, each tick echoing his rising anxiety. Today was the day everything could either flourish or fall apart. He could hear Mia and Julian moving upstairs, their footsteps a blend of excitement and fear that mirrored his own. Are you guys ready? He called, his voice cracking slightly. Almost. Mia's cheerful reply floated down the hall, though it did little to ease his jitters. The community center had been decorated the night before with hastily hung streamers and borrowed lights. They'd spent hours prepping, fueled by a mix of hope and late-night pizza. Now, it felt more like a dream than reality. When they arrived at the center, the growing crowd made Little G's heart race. It was a mix of familiar faces and some unknown ones, including a few from the skate park. The urge to retreat swept over him, but he felt Julian's reassuring presence beside him. Remember, we're in this together, Julian said, his eyes scanning the crowd. For the first time today, Little G found comfort in the familiar connection they shared. As attendees trickled in, Little G felt his worries melt away. Smiles replaced skepticism as laughter bubbled through the air. People were chatting and mingling, and even the skaters had started to settle into the vibe of the place. The nerves that had held Little G captive gave way to a rush of excitement. Look at that, Mia pointed out, her smile brightening. They're bonding. It's not so bad after all. The sound of the mic crackling brought an electric buzz to the room. Little G stepped up onto the small stage, his palms sweaty and his heart racing. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm swirling inside. Welcome, everyone. He called, unsure of how his voice would land. We're really glad you all came. Open Mic Night is about sharing your talent, stories, and having fun as a community. Applause sliced through the air, and Little G felt the warmth wash over him. There was something special about this moment, the hum of potential, the flicker of connection that sparked among strangers. The first act, a girl named Chloe, took the stage. She strummed her guitar, her fingers moving gracefully over the strings. Her voice was soft but powerful, weaving stories about hope and dreams. Little G watched as the crowd leaned in, captivated by her presence. One by one, more people shared their gifts. Laughter erupted when the older boy from the skate park performed a goofy rap. Little G felt the room shift, walls broke down with every song, every spoken word. But then, just as everything felt perfect, the lights flickered. A nervous energy rippled through the audience as the power suddenly went out. The room plunged into darkness, gasps filled the air, punctuated by Julian's voice trying to rally everyone, "Stay calm. We'll figure it out." Little G's heart raced again, this time with urgency. "We can still keep going," he yelled, barely able to see anyone's face. "We'll keep the energy up." Mia grabbed his hand, squeezing tightly. "What do we do?" In the darkness, he felt a surge of determination rise within him. "We don't need lights. Let us make this a candlelit open mic instead." Just then, a few kids began pulling out their phones, turning on flashlights. Soon, others joined in, illuminating their faces in friendly glows. Little G grinned at the creativity sparked from the unexpected turn, realizing how adaptable they all were. Under the twinkling lights of phones, they continued the show, laughter mixing with muffled beats. But in the back of his mind, a final thought lingered: unexpected setbacks like this could be a chance for even deeper connections. As everyone embraced the chaos, Little G felt exhilarated. What if this turn of events not only marked the success of Open Mic Night but also signified something greater? He had to know. With newfound vigor, he leaned closer to Mia and Julian. "We're not stopping, right? Not until we find out how far this can actually go." Just then, through the door, he noticed a figure standing quietly, an officer and a police dog, looking on curiously. Would this be another twist in the night's unfolding story? The night was electric. Open mic night had proven to be more than just a gathering, it was a heartfelt celebration of community spirit. Little G basked in the joy around him, the flickering lights from phone screens casting warm glows on smiling faces. Laughter mingled with cheers. It felt like the weight of their worries had lifted, if only for a moment. Just before he stepped back onto the stage, he noticed Officer Daniels and Max at the entrance, watching with pride. Little G's heart swelled. They had come to show their support. In the middle of the chaos, their presence added a sense of safety, a promise that they were all in this together. "Hey, everyone!" he called, trying to grab their attention through the murmurs. With a wave of hands and encouraging smiles from the crowd, the commotion settled down. "I know tonight took an unexpected turn, but this is a testament to how strong we are. No dark shadow can dim our light when we stand united." Applause erupted, vibrating through the air. The energy felt uncontainable, and in that moment, Little G realized they had already achieved so much more than he had imagined. As kids continued to share their talents and stories, an idea struck him: why not involve everyone in a larger way? "We're going to hold a community barbecue next month," he announced, excitement making him bounce on his feet. "Let's keep the momentum going. Everyone can come together, share food, share laughter, and share ideas on how we can keep this spirit alive." Nods of agreement bubbled through the crowd, a collective imagining of what could be. Inspired murmurs turned to spirited chatter as ideas floated around. "Let's decorate. Let's plan activities for the kids." Someone shouted from the back. The night had not just been about performances, it represented a new dawn of determination. There was hope that stretched beyond just them, it trickled down from every person in the room. Little G could feel it. A change was brewing, but even as voices surged with enthusiasm, a wave of fear washed over him. "But what if those kids don't want to join?" he blurted out before he could stop himself. A moment of silence fell again. Some heads turned, but before doubt could settle back in, a spirited girl from the skate park spoke up. "Then we'll show them it's fun. Let's invite them. Everyone deserves a chance." Her confidence filled the room with a new current of energy. Little G felt his heart race. They were ready to extend their arms, to invite everyone in, both the familiar faces and the strangers. The crowd buzzed again, laughter and excitement blossomed together. Little G looked at Julian and Mia. They had all come so far, more than any of them anticipated. This was a community united in a common purpose, a vision to uplift rather than ostracize. As the night wound down, Little G felt a gentle nudge. It was Max, who had been quietly resting beside Officer Daniels. The dog seemed to look up at him, encouraging silently. Little G bent down and scratched Max behind the ears, smiling at the warmth of his loyal companion. Just then, Officer Daniels approached the stage. "Can I say a few words?" he asked, his voice calm yet strong. Little G nodded, his heart fluttering with pride. "The power of a community lies in its spirit," Officer Daniels began. "You, kids, have shown remarkable courage tonight. You've created a movement just by coming together. And trust me, you've also awakened a lot of hope in the adults who look upon you with admiration." Cheers erupted again, and Little G's heart soared. "As we move forward, we stand ready to support you in any way we can, be it with planning your upcoming barbecue, or just being here as friends, mentors, and guardians," the officer concluded, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. Tears of joy threatened to spill from Little G's eyes. This was real. They had ignited something genuine, and tonight was just the beginning. As families began to gather their things, sharing smiles and plans for the future, Little G felt a profound shift inside him. "Thank you all for believing in this. Thank you for believing in each other," he called out, his voice ringing clear with newfound strength. Walking out of the community center, hand in hand with his friends, he felt like he was stepping into a brighter tomorrow. The worries that once clouded his heart seemed tiny now in comparison to the potential he saw. Little G realized he wasn't alone anymore. Together, they had crafted a network of hope, where shadows had no power. As they stepped into the cool night air, laughter dancing behind them like fireflies, he couldn't help but dream bigger. They would make a change not just for themselves, but for all those around them, proving that even the smallest voice could echo widely. Remember, community is what we build together, not just what we find. This is your moment. Take the step to be part of the change. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.